So we'll start the session now. Good evening, everyone, and a very happy Wednesday to all our honorable panelists, respective faculty members, and my dear friends. On behalf of the entire NITIE fraternity, I heartily welcome you all to this jubilant celebration of International Women's Day 2022. Whether professionally or personally, celebrating women is a sense of commitment to every woman in one's life. We all believe that today, without gender equality, a sustainable future and an equal future remains beyond our reach. In 1908, women's oppression and inequality were spurring women to become more vocal and active in campaigning for change. Around that time, 15,000 women marched through New York City demanding shorter hours, better pay, and voting rights. In 2021, Jacinda Ardern topped the Fortune list of world's greatest leader as the Prime Minister of New Zealand, and a trailblazing leader who not only adopted world-leading climate, gender equity, and equal pay policies, but also made New Zealand the first country to require banks, investment managers, and insurers to disclose the effects of climate change on their businesses. We have come a long way in achieving tremendous milestones and creating some impactful changes in the world for and with women at their wheels. The theme for this year's International Women's Day is Each for Equal, Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. We are fortunate to have amongst us today a panel of extraordinary leaders who have been a constant source of inspiration and knowledge. It is our privilege to listen to them, discuss the theme, and hear the insights about the achievements and contributions of women in different spheres and spread awareness about women's empowerment and gender parity in creating a sustainable tomorrow. Post the theme discussion, we will open the floor for a Q&A session with the panel. Before we begin with today's discussion, I would like to welcome our esteemed director, Dr. Manoj Tiwari sir, to share his words of wisdom with us. Professor Manoj Tiwari sir is an experienced professor with a demonstrated history of working in the manufacturing and logistics industry. Sir is a strong education professional with a PhD focused in flexible manufacturing system. With this, I would like to
this very important day, and our honorable board member and the alumni very of NITIE, we are going to have more and more participation of the women in the different segment of our activity list. And also we are going to have more girls students in the NITIE, and accordingly we are taking measures to enhance our gender diversity quotient. And with this, I can say that we have here very exceptional panelists and leaders who are going to talk on different aspects of this importance of the women as well as gender diversity. So with this note, once again, I welcome to all the panelists and all those who are listening this debate. And from my side, as well as from the NITIE administration, we all heartily welcome to you here. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
respected dean. Now I would like to request our respected Dean, Student Affairs and Placements, and Chairperson of NITIE Women Development Cell, Professor Himadate Ma'am, to share her thoughts with us. The Women Development Cell is working under her dynamic leadership, and the event lineup during the International Women's Week wouldn't have been possible without her guidance. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ashita. Respected Director, sir, Parthasarathy, sir, distinguished panelists, faculty member, officers, staff, and my dear students. And I'm coming all of you for today's celebration of Women's Day. It is a warm welcome to all the panelists as well. The theme of today's panel discussion is each for equal. Gender equality today for a sustainable tomorrow. It is a very significant topic in today's context, and that's why we have considered this topic. Despite corporate recruiting policies and college initiatives for diversity, we still witness a poor gender ratio in most academic institutes in the country. We are in NITIE, we are fortunate to have good ratio under the leadership of our director, sir. We have made a lot of efforts and the ratio of the gender equality is improved. And not only as far as the students are concerned, but we are having the privilege to have good women administrative positions and women involvement in each and every aspect. And we are really thankful to director, sir, for giving these opportunities and showing the faith in us and mentoring and motivating and supporting all the time. So my special thanks to director, sir, on this occasion today, because yes, lot of women leaderships rules are performed here in NITIE. And so we are definitely special. We are a privileged institute under the leadership of our director, sir. But unfortunately, we see a replication of this means the same conducive environment is not there. And many corporates where there is a disparity of the ratio affects business in their vision towards a sustainable future. We have made great strides in various fields, and yet women still face pay gaps issues, discrimination during the job promotion, and many such issues, and or the workplace, the discomforts and all. So all these issues are still faced by many women. We need to prioritize a solution for the same and focus on equal opportunities and education to achieve a truly sustainable tomorrow for us. I'm looking forward to this discussion and your invaluable insights on why, how, and where to achieve this. We are thankful to all the panelists for taking out time from their busy schedule and honoring today's occasion and being with us in a virtual platform. I'm really thankful to Parthasarathy, sir. Even though at a very short notice, I know he's holding very senior position and still his passion for the women, this thing, social work and all, has really is so amazing. It's so contributing. And that's why we are very privileged to have you, sir, today as a moderator today for today's session. I would hand over the next phase of this discussion to our esteemed moderator, Mr. Parthasarathy, sir. And he's the Vice Chairman of AllCargo Limited and Independent Director at LIC, Cloud9 Group of Hospitals and SEWA. He has over 25 years of experience in the industry and has held leadership positions at Xerox, Mumbai Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and Mahindra. He has the President Group CFO and Group CIO of Mahindra and Mahindra. He is passionate and proactive about social issues like women's empowerment, employment, entrepreneurship, and education. And now we will be getting a great opportunity to learn and to get guidance from Parthasarathy, sir. So thank you so much, sir, for today joining today with us. I'm requesting student coordinator to take it forward. Thank you so much.
So I would request you to take the discussion forward. With the
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Harshita, and thank you, Hemaji. It's the privilege, if anything, is mine. And it's great to talk today and discuss this issue. And I'm delighted that I'm only going to ask the questions because the answers are not that easy. Okay, in a country where I start by every day by saying Mahalakshmi, Mahakali, Mahakanya, Saraswati, Bhogavaiva, Sandadri, Bhakta, Anugrah Karini. This is my morning chant. What it says is, hey goddess of education, Saraswati, hey goddess of wealth, Lakshmi, hey goddess of Virta, Parvati, bless me. Okay, and when it comes to education, we talk about women. When it comes to wealth, we talk about women. When it comes to Virta, we talk about women. But when it comes to them in real world, where are they? And this is, and more, is the topic that our esteemed panelist will answer. And I will have the privilege to question them somewhat. Okay, but this is the real issue. Rabindranath Tagore says, and I quote, where the clear thought of reason has not lost its way into the dreary deserts of dead habits. But over these zillions of years as mankind have developed, have we lost our way into the dreary deserts of dead habits, into caste, creed, and whatnot? We have done some very good things, as Harshita talked about in her initial remarks. But is that enough? Are we there as yet? What else do we need to do? So these are things that do. And what Hemaji, Professor Hema talked about, that equality today for a sustainable tomorrow. Okay, it is very clear it is not sustainable unless we bring equity and equality both. Not just equality, but also equity. Because to get equality, we first need equity. But that also, I'm sure, our panelists will talk about more. And if they don't, I will certainly prompt them. I also want to talk about what work I do and some of the questions that get asked there, so that it comes as a precursor for all of you. I work with SEWA, a 2.1 million women force. Okay. And they all come together for empowerment. And empowerment is made in 3 steps: education, employment, and entrepreneurship. And that gives them social equality or social position in their own households, in their villages, and in their districts, and so on. Okay. So I see this go on, and I go there. Many things that I see is, first is, it's not easy to get educated. And generally, if there is education to be done for some, the girl in the house is told, "Aapka ruk jaiye aur ghar ki dekhbhal kijiye. Kisi na kisi ka to karna hai, aap hi kariye." And then the boys go out to study. The women look at this. How do we make, I mean, we can try and change this, or we can try and change our lens. How do we educate them even as they take care of this? Okay. The second one is employment. When it comes to employment, it is far easier for them, women, especially in the rural area, to get employment. Getting paid is a different aspect, but getting employment is easier, relative. The bigger problem is, it's like almost like a puff, a small puff of wind blows away everything, and they become unemployed. How do we get them back? We have started a resilience and rehabilitation fund to help banks give them money or loan to get them back on the feet while we guarantee the loan and we guarantee this. This is a small start. It's not going to solve all global hunger, but what else can we do to get them back on the feet every time they falter? Because they will falter. This is the nature of things. But how do we get them? So this is the other question that I have for all of you. And the third one is entrepreneurship. Is entrepreneurship the escape velocity? Because the moment entrepreneurship, they are the bosses. They have to have to report to anybody. So, and therefore the whole mechanism changes, but they need funds in order to do it. Who will invest in and behind them? Behind every successful woman, there has to be somebody. And who will be that somebody? So those are the kind of questions I have for our esteemed panelists today. So let me not sum. So do I have any suggestions? Oh, I have plethora of suggestions. But then, a penny for your thoughts and a pound for your suggestions. But what is more important is what our panelists thinks we can do as we move forward. But together, the 2 words that Harshita used, extra and ordinary, or was that Professor Hema who used that one, extra and ordinary. The 2 words are, one is extra means, extras means you're not even a prime actor, you are on the side. And ordinary is just ordinary. Just put them together, they become extraordinary. And that is what we can make. If we do that effort, can the extra and ordinary come together to create extraordinary change? And that's what is this career, this innings, hope. And that's what I'm working towards. But together, maybe we can create that extraordinary. So with that, I'll stop my speech and get on to, introducing our esteemed panelists. Each one of them hasti onto herself, but let me try and do some justice in few words. First, Aparna Natarajan. Aparna ji, welcome back to this institute's, a gathering. And she's an IPS officer, SP Security Special Branch, Guwahati, Assam, who has had 5 years of experience in the corporate sector as a manager. Structuring at ICICI is really what you have done, amongst many other things. She is the women's empowerment enthusiast and has been passionate about social issues. And most importantly, in this gathering, I'm delighted NITIE and from the Mumbai 2008 branch. Welcome, Aparna. Delighted to have you here. Okay. Second is Vidya Y. Okay. So that's how it's given to me. So I hope you are okay with not having the second part expanded. I do VS Parthasarathy, so I'm happy with that as well. So I hope you're happy with Vidya Y as a definition. I'm pleased to welcome you, madam. Founder, Vision Empower, who is currently a research fellow at Microsoft Research India, and also the recipient of Dhirubhai Ambani Scholarship for Academic Excellence. She is featured in multiple media talks and has been an inspiration by helping millions of differently abled kids in society. Vision Empower, under her vision, seeks to make science, technology, engineering, and mathematics subject accessible to visually impaired students, empowering them to pursue STEM careers. Vision Empowers has been providing learning resources to blind schools across Karnataka since 2018 and is currently looking to expand. May more power come to you, madam, and may you expand multifold to provide vision to not just the students, but also to many of us who need that as much as they do. Welcome. Pleasure to host you, Vidya. So can you wave your hand so that people also can just see Vidya? Harshita, everyone can hear me, right?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, okay. Because Vidya didn't react, so I was just wondering. Okay. Yojana Gavde is next. Madam, will you also just wave your hand? Yeah, thank you. Ms. Yojana Gavde is the Director of Personnel and Organization for India at Mars PetCare. And I learned she's from Hyderabad right now. Yeah, she's based in Hyderabad. She spearheads the human resources function, people strategy, and its execution for Pet Nutrition India. Ms. Gavde brings over 14 years of experience spanning business, partnering, and center of excellence verticals in the people's function. She's been a global corporate leader, latest at Mondelez India Foods at the capacity and as the capability leader for Asia Pac and the Middle East, where she was responsible for the design and deployment of leadership roadmaps across 6 business units and worked on embedding future forward capabilities. At Mars, still in India, right? Yeah, not at Mars. Okay, at Mars, she has strengthened a diverse and inclusive work culture. Delighted to have you with us, Yojana, and pleasure to looking forward to hearing you speak. Yeah? The next one that I'm going to introduce, though she's not right now during the course of the meeting, is Sathi Aich Darab. Sathi Aich Darab is a Senior Director, Human Resources at GEP Solutions. She's a member of GEP's Global Leadership Team and shapes, drives, and manages GEP's People Agenda in Asia Pac. An alumna of Mumbai University and XLRI Jamshedpur, Sathi, a certified facilitator and a predictive index analyst. Sathi has over 2 decades experience in managing people function across industries. Bennett Coleman, Procter and Gamble, Cadbury, etc. There's also in BFSI, it's JP Morgan Chase and BNP Paribas, and GP in consulting and professional engineering, very across many sectors and across talent value chain, HR, strategy, leadership, hiring, development, diversity, inclusion, and HR administration. I didn't want to miss anything because I don't know this one. So whatever is on the slide, I'll make sure that I read everything. I'm sorry, some of this diction may not have been right because it comes as a complete sentence and you don't know where to break. So sometimes you're not completely as legible as what the speaker would like us to. But I hope I've adequately introduced, and don't please feel free to correct me if I've made any small errors in it. Intention was not to, but we always can make up for any mistakes that I've made. So without further ado, let me first introduce. I've introduced all, but let me welcome the first speaker, Aparna Natarajan, to start the discussion rolling on the theme that she wanted to do, and maybe she answers some of my questions. Otherwise, I'll come and pick up at the end the questions that I said. Over to you, Aparna Natarajan.
Director sir, good evening Parthasarathy sir, and good evening my fellow panelists and faculty and staff. It's indeed a very, it's a big honor and a privilege to be a part of this panel discussion, and it's always fond memories to be associated back with NITIE. I'm actually the posting, sir, that you read out, I was posted there around 2-3 years back. Now I'm posted in a district called Morigaon. It is around 2 hours from Guwahati. So I'm the superintendent of police of a district called Morigaon. The theme, I actually don't talk or anything. So I think as a discussion, I'll just start off by sharing my experiences in the field. And policing is something in which women are not as adequately represented as they should be. And in Assam, we have a policy that, there is a 33% reservation for taking women at the subordinate levels. At the level of the Indian Police Service, at the IPS level, I think the nationwide number would be around 20%, which is an improvement, but of course, which is still not enough. Now, in terms of, legal framework and constitutional mandates, we have the legal framework in place, even in terms of the sustainable development goals. We have, I think, more than 80% of the legal framework that is in place to ensure, the rights of women are protected. If there are crimes, they are adequately redressed. But I mean, it's like they say, the devil is in the details. So the execution does, leave a lot to be desired. And of course, it is very presumptuous to think that your questions can be answered through this discussion. We'll, of course, just discuss it. And Assam is that way a good place to work, because even one thing which I always like to say, because of the woefully less representation of women, there is a tendency to address you as a female officer, as a lady officer. That's something which I am very particular to point out, that, if I don't call a fellow officer as a male officer, I don't like to be addressed as a lady officer. So I think the representation issue would be sorted the day that somebody stops addressing me as a lady officer, because you're then just an officer. So these are all very small things. I mean, it's not something that is, a planned propaganda or something, but it's something that we learn and we have ingrained in ourselves. And there are some biases in us, and there are some stereotypical things that we ourselves don't know, but it is internalized, and hence we don't realize that that is what is being propagated. One thing which you said in your introduction, that you said that it is not easy to get educated. So that's something which I definitely agree with. So in my district, there are some very remote areas. They are called Char and Chapori areas. So there is a flow of Brahmaputra river through several districts of Assam. And what happens in these places is, as the flow of the river changes, these inhabited portions, they keep changing as the course of the river changes. So these are all a floating population. And it is the education of the girls that takes the first hit, because they are on a day-to-day survival mode, and educating their girls is definitely not the first priority. So when you go there, in the particular areas, there are schools till say 4th standard, 5th standard. And after that, they're not really comfortable sending their girls to educate. So it automatically happens that education becomes a casualty. So this is something which is ground reality. And I mean, of course, there are no answers to these. I just wanted to, since you pointed at that out, I thought I will highlight this. And yeah, I think, I mean, things are improving compared to earlier. I mean, people are becoming more sensitive. Like, for example, in the National Police Academy, which is the training institute for IPS officers, it is located in Hyderabad. The last 2 batches, the passing out parade was by a lady probationer. In a batch of around 150, it was the lady probationer who was adjudged as the best probationer. And I will tell you why this is important. Because the IPS training involves a very arduous schedule of indoor and outdoor classes, and the outdoor classes are extremely physically taxing. But in terms of physical standards, the women are not given any kind of lesser things to pass. As in, we also need to walk our 40 kilometers with our weapon and the pittu that we carry. We also need to run our 16-kilometer run, do our battle obstacle assault course. So in spite of the stereotypical thing that, is said right from the beginning, you throw like a girl and play sports like a girl. So in the last batch, the best probationer, it was a lady officer who was adjudged as the best probationer, and she commanded the parade. So this is something. And just yesterday, there was a CISF VIP protection video which was released, in which all the women commandos were demonstrating how a VIP protection would happen in case there is an attack on a VIP convoy, or somebody is being kidnapped, or there is some problem in a security setup. So I think it is very important for women to be a part of the security forces, to instill that sense of confidence among people, and to definitely break the ceiling. I mean, when Kiran Bedi became the first officer, there was a glass ceiling that she broke. So, and I think our journey has been made easier by several women before us who have done their part and made things easier for us. So we are just walking as a part of that path, and everybody is trying to do our bit. And there are, I'm sure everybody would have seen the news a few months back. It was all over the news where this discussion again got picked up. There was an inspector in Tamil Nadu police who had carried an unconscious man on her shoulders, and he was a pretty well-built man, and she had carried him on her shoulders and taken him to the ambulance. So she had just done a job, matter of fact, as in, I mean, he fell down. She just saw him, and she picked him up and put him in the ambulance. But it became viral because it was something that was probably not expected of a woman to do. And, something of physical strength that is not associated, even though she was a cop, and she had just done her duty of, the primary job is to help a person in distress, right? So she had just done a job, but then this was very widely discussed, and it brought a lot of attention to why there should be more women in the policing force, because it is a good thing that became viral, because it became viral for all the right reasons. And there are some things whenever I'm saying that there should be women representation, I'm not saying that males are not sensitive. What I'm saying is that as a woman, there could be some diverse perspectives that a woman brings to a policy response, which a male might, and there are officers, in my previous postings at the time of my farewell, thinking that it is a compliment, I have had people tell me that, we worked with ma'am, in spite of being a woman officer, she did this. So it is not something that is meant as a backhanded compliment, but as I said, because it's an inherent bias that a woman is supposed to behave in certain ways, and hence probably not, equipped to face certain challenges. And so this increased that critical mass, that optimal institutional representation, when that happens, these perspectives and these things will change. And I think that's the response, and that is the place that we are all striving to reach to. Of course, I mean, it's not something that can happen overnight. So, I mean, when the COVID pandemic happened and there were a lot of migrants who were moving around, it was a woman officer who had distributed a lot of sanitary napkins in Delhi. So maybe there was a male officer who might not have thought of this as a problem, a lack of sanitary napkins for migrants to stay in a camp. Because it was a woman officer, I mean, this was something that was foremost in mind as a problem that can occur, because we see flood relief camps. Sanitation is an issue, especially during periods. So even this public, when they approach, they feel easier to discuss crimes if there has been a crime that is perpetrated against a woman or a child. They somehow seem to feel more confident and more easier, and the fear of not being judged. If they approach a woman officer. So yeah, I mean, this is what I just wanted to say. I think I mean, you can take the discussion.
Thank you. Who's the next in?
So you may take the discussion forward. We may have Vidya Vai ma'am next.
Yeah. So Vidya, Doris.
Yeah. Thanks so much to NITIE Mumbai for inviting me here to share my views on this day. And sorry, sir, I wasn't able to. I heard you, but I wasn't able to wave my hand because I'm not able to see the camera. So there was some miscommunication over there. Today, I think, we all talk a lot about career and how we should focus on, pay when we are working, equal pay for both for men and women, education and all of this. But I wanted to share my perspectives on double marginalization because I think this topic would be new for so many people over here. And I feel that, events like these would be a good place to talk about some of these things as well. So I wanted to focus on what happens if you are a woman and if you have a disability. So in my case, for example, whenever I look back, I'm visually impaired since birth. And I have often seen that I hardly got any chance to talk about women's issues just because the disability part, the visual impairment part overshadows everything else. I mean, it overshadows you being a human, it overshadows your gender and everything else. So most people, when you talk about a lot of people, they just view me, for example, or any other person with a disability as, or a person with visual impairment as just a person who has visual impairment and nothing else. And there are a lot of assumptions that already come in. Either people think that you are some super ordinary person, like, yeah, there are struggles, there are a lot of issues, but often people say that, you're supposed to give people confidence, courage, and people forget the humanness part. Just like anybody else, there may be ups and downs, just like anybody else, or even you may be stuck with a problem and may need external support, and you cannot be that strong person always. Or another extreme is a lot of women, especially women with disabilities, there is complete loss of dignity and uniqueness. Because I had met this girl when I went to Coorg, and she had epilepsy and she was visually impaired. So when I met her, she told me that she had come with her parents, and she didn't get any opportunity. She was all at home for all of her life. She was in her 30s. And then I thought, okay, there may be some way that I can help. And I said, okay, I'll connect you to some organization working in your place, organization for the visually impaired. So you give me your contact details and all of it. So then when I tried to call her, I was very surprised that either her mother or father, I don't know, some family members, they picked up the call and they never connected to her. So, a lot of women have these issues, women with disabilities, people decide what they should eat, what clothes they should wear, where they should go, whom you should talk to, and everything else. And imagine when it comes to more serious aspects where your decision is needed, like whether you want to have a family or whether you want to take care of your child or dependent parent, and if you have a disability. So there's an assumption that always women with disabilities have to be provided care and can never be a care provider or can never provide anybody care. So a lot of of dignity happens through other women also. It's not just men. Like even a lot of mothers are overprotective, and things happen through women also. So I feel the solution here would be to get introduced to technology, because at least through technology, I think women with disabilities can keep in touch with the mainstream society as well as other women and get some confidence. And then only we can talk. We often talk when we talk about disabilities about how we should provide employment and inclusion and everything, but the basic aspects that whether you are able to socialize with somebody or not, all of these will be forgotten. And also there are a lot of assumptions that for example, a visually impaired person tells you, I'd like to dress up well, I'd like to put on some makeup, which is very common for any women. We hardly talk about these things. But when a person with a disability says these things, so people are very surprised. People have told me you don't look blind and stuff. So I sometimes wonder how you look blind. So all these assumptions are there. And also there's so much of overprotection, even when it comes to say when we work with girls who are visually impaired. I work on making STEM education accessible because they're completely visual, and we make STEM education accessible. Here even the boys are not also studying these subjects, and also girls. But for girls, their families are so overprotective that they're very scared to send their girls anywhere, because that definite fear is there that firstly they're girls, and secondly they cannot see. So all of these issues are always there. So definitely technology will also sort out some of these issues, that even if the girls cannot travel, we take the education or employment or any other opportunity to their houses. And in the disability community, we are looking at even providing opportunities which other women currently have. So, and one more thing that I feel when we talk about women in general, now I'm not talking about people with disabilities. So here we have, I feel that all of us have some of the feminine qualities like creativity, like nurturing, and we have some of the masculine qualities like, analytics and decision making and things like that. So all of us have these qualities. So when we choose roles, maybe a person who maybe if a man likes to take care of the family, who has more nurturing tendencies, it should be normalized, and they should be allowed to do so. And even if a woman wants to become a homemaker and just take care of the children and everything, because they are more feminine, that also should be allowed. Because you shouldn't say that you also have to compete with other men and you can't sit at home and things like that. Whatever roles we choose in the society, or whatever subjects say we choose to study, or whatever employment opportunities we have, I think it should all be dependent on the choice and not on the compulsion just because you are a male or a female. So these are some of the views that I had to share for today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very good thoughts, and we'll pick on some of that. And, how to look at and how, we should look at handicap in a different way, and how we should enable rather than, see that as an impediment is great points that one should think about. Going forward, let me invite Yojana Gavde now to share her thoughts.
Thank you, Partha, and thanks, Vidya, for your share. I think the pieces that you brought around intersectionality when we talk about equality, truly relevant and could really feel what you're saying. So thank you for your share. Hi, everyone. And hopefully we have around 286 participants on the call and hopefully, all engaged. It's great to have, NITIE to host this kind of a panel. And I say that because I've been hiring from NITIE for many years, from the start of my career in Mondelez to now, and I've seen, industry leaders really coming from NITIE, and therefore a lot of hope, is there when, somebody like NITIE, an institute like NITIE actually hosts a panel like this. This has been the most diverse panel that I've attended. Usually there will be 4 corporates talking to each other on similar issues. This has been extremely well curated. So let me talk about, and I'll have a very sharper look at equality, diversity agenda, and from a business perspective, right? I would like to bring that to fore. Now, I come from a deep-rooted CPG or FMCG experience, right? So my understanding of business is much more evolved from a consumer angle, from a consumer industry angle. And if you look at India, particularly, and the problem of equality or diversity, 50% of the population is almost women, men and women, right? 50% of our consumers, therefore, are men and women, right? Or 50% of our customers are men and women. But you look at a marketing board in any organization, or a sales leadership board, or a supply chain leadership board, you will not see 50% representation there, right? And there lies the problem for business. How will you have, innovation if there is no diversity in the decision making around business, right? There are a lot of studies, and maybe largely done, outside India. I think we need more institutes like NITIE to actually commission studies like these, where you see higher innovation when the board is diverse. The board or the leadership team or the teams below are diverse. Innovation rates are high. And these are real studies where you've seen a number of products launched in the market and how many of them were successful. If you had sort of diverse points of view, be it gender, be it diverse backgrounds, but gender had higher factor. If you had higher, gender diverse sort of audience in a leadership team, the chances of high engagement, profitability, the stock market returns, all of that was higher. And therefore, this entire need for diversity, which is a business problem, and it's not an HR problem, or it's not, a company's problem. It's not only a societal problem, but actually, a real problem of, are we truly being innovative, as corporates, as organizations, as society? So, when we look at gender diversity, and personally for me, often I reflect on, who's taking decision on his behalf, right? Some of you would have heard of this test called Bechdel test, which is used in, fiction movies. And it came up again of, how women are represented in fiction, be it advertisements or be it, in movies. And often you would see 2 women talking about men. And that was their primary role, right? So 50% of a fictional movies, advertising narratives actually fail that test because you see only 2 women talking about men. And that has been part of our subconscious. And that has been part of, of India or, across developed markets too. So there are real barriers. And as Partha, mentioned at the start, there are no easy answers, right? But in the roles that you take up, right? Role like mine, which is an HR leader role, how do I, bring this to the table? How do I bring these conversations to the table? That's the role that I can play. And the other part is, where you see sometimes people getting nervous, or in institutes, I'm part of tests and I do understand the placement drama which happens. We always get nervous around, why these companies are, asking for more women CVs or more women placements. The reason is because, you don't see women reflected in P&L roles, right? In profit and, profit management or P&L management roles. And that is something that we need to drive, right? Why do we lose out women, at middle layers in the organization? And what is the burden? Is the burden of the choices that make? Is there a mom tax? Or is there guilt, or is there an aspiration deficit, right? Or what you hear as and that irritates me a lot is my career is a secondary career, and my spouse's career is a primary career, right? So all these things really add up to subconscious level, and therefore choices are made around career irrespective of having great education. So first of all, we have problem of education in the country, right? Where getting women actually get educated, but when women are getting educated, you see dropouts, right? Even after masters, and even after gaining degrees, people do drop out. So as an organization, how do we create enabling measures is something which is extremely important. And so you will have policies, and you will have frameworks, and you have improved infrastructures, you will have incentives for all these things. But the most important thing is awareness, right? Awareness from this, from the leadership till the teams below on the shop floor, right? I'm assuming majority of you, would be from a supply chain, background or study electives that you've taken. And if I hire a woman on the shop floor, and she's the only one in the night shift with, entire male populi, is that a safe working environment, right? Is that an equal environment? So how do I create, groups, allyship, including men in the organization, not only at the top level, at the managerial level, but even at the grassroots level, right? In field sales, in shop floor roles, in difficult roles, which are assumed from a travel perspective, etc. How do I decode all of that? Some by using technology, and today really, as Vidya mentioned, technology can really help us. Sales roles are not the old kind of sales roles where you need to go do the deep, market route every day. You can use technology on your fingertips. So how am I enabling technology to actually, drive these decisions on diversity? I think that's the role, as an organization we play. And then, at Mass Pet Care, that's also, the intention. But the crux of it is, this is continuous education and awareness, and we have to be relentless around it. Because for the last, many years, advertising has taught us something else about women. Movies have taught us something else about women. Our family narratives have been, drilled into us, and things like that. So how do I change that? How do I change that narrative? Overnight? That's not possible. So deep-rooted empathy and understanding of this area is a need of the hour. And leaders who are understanding it, and not doing it from metric orientation are the most successful leaders. And the organization which have these kind of leaders, you'll see the huge difference made between what they say and what actions are, right? So the other, last part that I want to touch upon is, yes, things are changing. So just yesterday, for example, I was reading a resume, and it was a male candidate. And the resume read that I am on a break because I'm a lead parent, right? So I'm taking a 10-month break to actually support and to be a lead parent. And this is somebody from sales and marketing, right? So I do feel that there are some winds of change. I need to celebrate these examples and talk more about these examples because they are rare today, right? Because their entire notion of primary and secondary career drilled upon, all our minds. So as women, we can help women actually. When you hear these narratives, how do you break that? How do you call out certain actions in the organization? And the other, I think, call to action to all of you, right? To the NITIE team and to the NITIE students is start thinking about empathy, as a subject versus as one element, of, HR, right? How is empathy really driving business decisions? How are you improving your empathy to understand? As deeply you understand consumers, you should deeply understand your employees by using, the lens of empathy. And the other is, stop thinking about primary and secondary careers. And we need more men to actually come forth and explore and experiment, different areas of careers, and that will equally support women, right? And lastly, on the occasion of Women's Day, I used to feel, when I was too new in my career, that is this tokenism? Why are we celebrating one day, right? Why do we need to have a dialogue on one day, right? I don't need a special mention on a day like this. But over a period of time, I realized that, we need to talk more, right? And if there is a day that we need to just dedicate, that's fine. But we need to talk more and create more awareness on a regular basis. And maybe this gives a platform to somebody who's not even aware of this topic to get aware of, right? So dialogues like these really help. And I think these are my reflections. As a community, especially in supply chain, all of you can do a lot more. Today, if I'm setting up a new plant, and that's the true story in mass pet care, we're looking at how do we create inclusive workspaces. But our challenge is really, where will we get the women on the shop floor, right? And then therefore, if we have to convince the families, and there are stories of many companies who are setting up plants, so go to their families and convince them for them to actually be part of the ecosystem of working in plants, with the right measures, and the entire family sort of changes, right? The financial resources change, the thinking pattern changes, the next generation will have huge impact. So as an organization, how can we create impact? By being resilient and relentless around this agenda. That's something will really help to make, shape shifting in this agenda, versus, small tokenism, which is just about celebrating a day, or making some small changes here and there, right? This requires shape shifting across levels in the organization, ruthless checking on, what is my gender pay gap on a yearly basis? How is my promotion looking like? How is my talent succession pipeline looking like? So these are real metrics, right? Like any sales director will measure NSV and GSV and market share. These are some important aspects which heads of the businesses should keep on top of their, even P&L statements. So yeah, these are my thoughts, and over to you, Partha.
Thank you. Thank you. At least you accepted one to call me Partha, because from sir to Partha in this audience is a great thing. Thank you. Now over to Sathi Eyes Darab for her introductory remark before we go to the Q&A, please.
Sure. Thank you, Partha, and thank you, the other panel members. I know going last is always a problem because almost everybody has covered everything, and I joined a bit late. My apologies for that, but I think I heard few of the panelists talk about diverse, they come from diverse background, expressing their views. It was very interesting to hear. So like Yojana, I think I come from a corporate world. I head HR for a logistics and procurement supply chain consulting firm, and we work with several industries across different industries. I feel fortunate that I'm part of the firm which has huge focus on diversity and inclusion. In fact, I take pride in saying that our company is a minority-owned 50% diverse company. So that's a huge thing. But we were facing a similar challenge, Yojana. So yes, up there it is 50% diverse, but when you come across, right to the lowest member, you find that diversity is not where you want to be. So as an organization, I think the founders and the CEO, everybody is committed, and the senior leadership, to say that how do we build a diverse and inclusive organization? So I think first thing we did is looking at, having a target number, saying that by 2028, we will become a diverse company. And then, of course, and there are several research that has happened to prove the tangible benefits of this. Women, we see that be it across productivity, you have a more cohesive workforce, be it across achievement. The moment you have diversity, there is a more holistic approach, for a higher achievement. An empowering and bias-free and gender-supportive workplace results in an innovative mindset amongst the members. This is because if everyone looks at the same thing, comes from the same background, they will also have the same blind spots, right? So diversity brings out that diverse ideas and inventiveness. And also all of this then results into, business results, to what Yojana talked about. So all of this then finally ends up in, having great business results with this. So as an organization, one thing is, of course, we've taken that target at the CEO level and cascaded it right up to the junior member. So be it when somebody is looking at his team member or some manager is hiring, so they are more conscious, saying that, am I hiring diverse talent? What is the diversity in my group? Am I getting the right resources in? What we have also done as an HR team is started showing the stats month on month to the business. So what we have done is, just before our promotion cycles, just from the nomination, we send them the stats saying that here is how your diversity quotient is looking, right? So do you want to revisit the nominations? Do you want to relook at it? Just that nudge to the business leaders. When it comes to the compensation and benchmarking, we have sent out in advance saying that your compensation for your function is this. This is how the compensation parity looks like. So consciously upfront bringing it to them, saying that, did you visit that? And what we have seen is the business leaders have really appreciated us for that. They said, oh, I never realized this. So it was an eye opener for them. They said, we never realized that this was the thing. Like with HR taking this step, I think it has opened up those avenues for them. They've started looking at it. Now they ask for the data. They look at month on month, how is my diversity looking? For recruitment, they tell us, okay, I would like to go to a diverse institute. I would like to hire more diverse talent. So that is there. We also do face similar challenges. Like you said, it is about the shop floor. We have more about work shifts, which are night shifts, right? And my earlier stint was with a financial services firm where we had similar challenges. The moment you talk about late work shifts or odd work shifts, parents are, oh, might be this is an BPO. Oh, might be this is not somewhere I can, is it safe enough? How will you ensure that my daughter gets back home safe and everything is, taken care of? So we did invite parents in our offices. We had senior women leaders talk to them, and we had organized sessions like this to talk about, take them on the shop floor, show them how the teams work, how it is. That gave immense comfort to the parents, and they said, oh, now we understand. They were much more comfortable to say that, okay, we can have our we have our girl kids go for this organization or go and work with this organization. So those are a few of my thoughts. I know I can see that we are almost on time. So what I will do is I'll hand it over back to Partho for the discussion to happen and join in as and when required. Over to you, Partho.
Thank you. That was a short and sweet. Okay, and you did talk about target setting, address, and are looking at the blind spot, what it gives when you do on the nudge, and the societal impact, right? Bringing the support systems in. That is a key as this one. So very, very good points. And I want to just go back because I didn't want to stop the flow. So I heard from the enabling measures, which is, what Yojana talked about, are empathy, the 2 E's, and stereotypes to celebrating, winds of change. So I like that as much. And it has to start somewhere, and rightly brought out. And before that, I had Vidya talk about primary care. Why and sorry, was it? It was Vidya who talked about even homemaker or primary caregiver should also be a choice, and that's not wrong at all if that's what they choose. It's not that only work is the answer. And Vidya's point was kind of saying allow the choice is what is more important. And that if they choose that career, that's also true, because homemaker is the only 24/7 job, right? All the others have some end time at least. And technology, bringing in technology to even is a great one. And perceptions and knowledge. I like that talk about the digital tools. They may have made many other points. I just wanted to throw some of them as I heard them. So we have roughly we are at 7:05. And before we come to the side, you have till 7:12 to ask all your questions. So I have a reasonable job, right? I've got 6 minutes to do many questions. So what I'll do, I'll not ask many. I just want to put it in 2 buckets and want each one of you to respond to it. The one, what I can say is, listen, I've seen stereotypes from both sides, not just from the other side, but also from the women's side. Yeah. Okay. And I'll give you some stereotypes. One stereotype is that shop floors cannot employ women because we do heavy lifting in a tractor plant. Okay. I'm not talking about you, Yojana. I'm talking about my stupidity. Okay. And accepting it publicly. So, and I accepted it. Then I went to China. I took over a tractor plant and I walk into that tractor plant. 35% of the women are shop floor are women. Oh, said, oh my God. And then I said, okay, stop here, get 25 people from the shop floor in India come to China to watch this. Yeah. Okay. And some managers to come as well. And then they are saying choti horsepower tractor hai, isliye women kar sakte hain. So I then said, where will this stop? Okay. And should we, and Swaraj came first in Mahindra to say, I'll have a complete section of women who will be on the shop floor. They took lead role. So it's so very nice when Aparna talked about, and I'm putting Yojana, talked about saying, we should celebrate these kind of winds of change as we see them, right? So my question is twofold. Okay. What can women themselves do? Sorry, the other stereotype is these are company secretary, these women, and then we say no, 50% of all company secretaries will be women. It's easy decision. And we do take. And then 1 year down the road, they come back and tell us, sir, shadi karna hai to humko, we want to resign. Yeah, and it looks, why? So, and we say, okay, go, do something and come back. We'll give you 1 year, 1 and 2 years if you want a break. Come back. And then you don't hear back from them. So problem exists from both sides. So my question is very simple. First is, can we take what can the women, girls themselves do? Okay. What should they do? If you were to, there are 300 people in the audience, and I'm assuming 50% of women, you're going to tell them, hey, in order to make sure that the diversity is enabled, you also have to do many things. And here are the things that I want you to think about. Okay. So can we start? And because I see Sachi, you came in last, so you have the first shot. And then please chip in. I mean, I'll call on you, but I would be rather that you all do it spontaneously. Yeah.
Sure. Maybe, thanks so much. And maybe I'll use my personal context, in this to explain. I think I was lucky, I've born and brought up in Mumbai. I was lucky. My father had a transferable job with the government of India. He was never available. But my mom ensured that, we were equally brought up, me and my brother. And, she herself isn't very educated, but she always aspired and dreamt, for me and my brother to really grow up and have a, good life, be educated, grow in this in personally and professionally. So I take pride today, when I see my mom and I see her looking up to me, I really take pride, because I think it is her success, not mine, that she brought us up in this way, and I'm where I'm today. And I come from a small place in Mumbai, beyond Thane, and I take pride in in my career, the way it has grown. Personally, if you ask me, 6 years back, my husband went to a medical situation. I did not allow that to stop me. I said, don't worry, you take a medical break and I will take the ownership of the house. And for the past 6 years, be it anything, be it financial, be it, taking care of the outside work, be it building a career, everything single-handedly, I've managed to do that. Initially, everybody was surprised. They thought I will not be successful. And till today, my husband goes through a lot of medical situations. So managing a task force in the office, managing home, managing finances, managing medical situations. I think I have balanced and managed to do this well. One is, yes, my husband's support and my family members' support, my team's support, because they know there are emergencies when I have to just run away and attend to some emergencies. But they have been, very, very collaborative. My team has been very strong behind me. They said, you don't worry, you take care of it. So I think as a woman, first thing that we a lot of times think that, oh, my breadwinner is my husband. I think that we should take off. When we are looking at equality, I always feel that you should think that you are an independent person who can take charge of things. Why should your husband be providing for you? You have to take charge of things, take charge of your finance, take charge of things. Many times I see when people at public transport, when we are traveling by, right? Simple thing, you feel, oh, there is a gentleman standing. Why can't he offer a seat to a lady? Why should you accept it? Why should you expect it? Right? You want equal rights, right? So don't expect it, right? So my view is, stand up for yourself. Don't think that somebody else should do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. So, be that powerhouse, be that brave person, be that courageous person who will take things in her stride and not expect somebody else to do it for her. So I will pause here because I know there are other panel members who would like to contribute.
Okay, thank you.
Partha, should I go next?
Yeah, please. I just said you all jump in automatically.
Okay.
I just want it flowing. Yeah.
Sure. So I think all great points, by Sati. I think, for me, I think it's, really 2 C's that I call it. I think clarity, be clear about what you want. And this I'm talking about to all the students and across genders. This is a gender agnostic advice. If you're clear, people around you, organizations, society around you, your family will be there to support you, will understand you, or you'll make them understand. So be really clear about what you want in life, and then go for it, right? Go for the choices. You want to become the best homemaker, you want to become the best sales director, best supply chain director, whatever it might be, right? Or best writer, the best father, the best mother. Be very, very clear about what you want. Unfortunately, education doesn't teach us clarity. So it comes, through a lot of reflections, and our education doesn't help us or, remind us to process, to reflect. So the next 2 years, and I'm assuming, or next, 2 years or the initial years of your career, spend a lot of time in reflections and processing. Don't just run from one thing to another. That will hamper your clarity for long term. As a family unit, as a society member, as a corporate goer, it will just hamper you. So get into this habit of reflections and you'll get your answers around clarity. And the second is, challenging status quo. Put your hand up for, so-called perceived difficult assignments which you're not taking because others around you have not taken it, right? Because you've not seen other women taking it. Or even for men, not taking certain roles because you feel, it's not gender, it's not the right gender to take that role, right? Put your hand up for what you like. Keep on challenging status quo. When I just started my career, I'm born and brought up in Mumbai. So, for me to sort of put my hand up, and in this is 2006, 2007, to put my hand up to go to Gurgaon and manage Delhi and Chennai. So 15 days in Delhi, 15 days in Chennai, sales branches. My first episode was land into the branch, and they were not used to seeing women in the branch. And the second is they're not used to seeing an HR person in the branch. So it was a new role instituted. So they thought somebody's coming to police us and to report us. So my first month was extremely uncomfortable because I didn't have a place to sit. So from that to really becoming integral part of the business came by just challenging status quo and being okay with it, being okay with the discomfort at the initial stage till everybody aligns to you. By finding allies, right? By finding allies, in your ecosystem. So these are my sort of recommendations, and these are life sort of recommendations versus only on this agenda.
Thank you. Who wants to go next? Vidyaji, will you take it on?
Yeah. So I think this question is something that I have a lot of maybe experience in this thing, because every day at least 5 times someone tells me you cannot do this and you cannot do that. So what I do is that, first what I do is if I want to do something, I see if I love to do it or not. Doesn't matter whether now in this context, it's not like we should be competing with other women or other men. It's just that we will take a look if we love to do it or not, whether it is a job where it is lifting a lot of weight, or whether it is taking care of home. Whether we really like it is something that's needed, because it needs some to go on with the work that we choose. We really need to like the work we do. So first thing is whether we like to do it or not. And second thing, only thinking about it and everything is not going to help. So we take action. Suppose we want to write a book, then just thinking about it won't take us far. So we will take action and we'll give it a try. Like not because someone is telling whether we can do it or not. Unless we give it a try, then definitely we'll not know. And when we go beyond the comfort zone every time, that's what will help us learn and grow every time, and then we can do much better than what we did before. So I think keeping an open mind, choosing what we like to do, and then just giving it a try. Doesn't matter whether someone agrees or not. And also not allowing our past fears. Maybe you have failed in something, so not allowing these past fears, or maybe someone else has not succeeded in it, it doesn't mean that we also cannot do that. So I feel some of these will help us just take action and just go with the flow.
Thank you. Yeah, so that brings us to Aparna. You have points that you would like to make on this?
I think it's been amply covered. I will just say, I mean, I absolutely agree to what Yojana said, that clarity is very important. And these guys are just starting on their careers. It's very important to realize it's okay to make mistakes. I mean, everybody doesn't get everything right in the first go. It's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. I think mistakes are very important for you to learn and, not repeat the same mistake again. So learn from your own mistakes, learn from others' mistakes. And one thing I would like to say is, like, always be confident to seek help. I mean, it's okay. You need not know everything. Be confident. You should have that much confidence in yourself to seek help and, engage others in your own project. Like, engage them, so that asking for help is not a sign of weakness. I mean, both for the boys and the girls, or I should say men and women out there, this is what I want to say, that, just be confident, have clarity in your goals, and so one way or the other, things will fall in place. You will falter, you will fumble, there will be roadblocks. I mean, if things were easy, then everybody would be doing everything, right? So it's okay to struggle, but only when you challenge yourself. Sometimes when the biggest challenges are faced, that is when you discover the greatest strengths within yourself, and you would probably surprise yourself by thinking, oh, I never knew that I could do this. So just keep an open mind, and this is a period to be open to things. Just say, like Yojana said, don't be afraid to say yes to difficult things. So that's all.
Thank you. That's very, very good. The courage of conviction, clarity. So many C's came through, not just 2 C's, Yojana, okay, at the end. So thank you. So all these are very important. Your career is in your hands, and your good examples, careers, your equality is also in your hands in some sense. And if you have the conviction, I'll add only one point, if you all agree. Create an ecosystem, because you'll always have some trouble or the other in terms of doing it. If you create an ecosystem, then it'll be great. Think about the ecosystem. If you are in the age where you're saying, oh, I'm just married, and I have a child which is young. So each situation requires a different kind of ecosystem to handle it. If you think through the ecosystem and say, this will help my career, my life going forward, you should bring that ecosystem. Sometimes nuclear family is great, but sometimes having the parental support is great because it allows you. So one has to think through everything and take action. And when you seek help, Aparna said, the grandparents will be more than happy to be around their grandchildren. Yeah. So do think about that. I will want to close this hearing one line. I mean, we are at the time when we should have handed over plus something. So I want everyone to just have one liner for what the society can do. And I'm going to start with my wish list. If we can give digital tools to all the women who want, like education. Aparna, you said about education in Meghalaya. So I feel they are asking, can I get some digital tools? So even if I'm left behind at home, I can see the screen and learn something. Yeah, be educated, maybe on and in different languages if you can get it. So this is the two wish that I have heard enough when I've gone travel down the length and breadth of the country. So that's my wish. And Aparna, because I can see you, so how about you start with one liner society wish from the society.
One liner society wish, I would go back to a book title and say we should all be feminists. Yeah. By the Nigerian author. We should all be feminists. Everybody read that. And I think that's my one liner society wish.
Thank you. So yeah, because it's difficult. Yeah. So let me call Yojana, please go ahead.
Sure. And Partha, I'm going to go back to your first line where you recited, in India, women are put on a pedestal, which is goddesses and everything. So my one wish to the society is treat women as human beings, and we don't need any pedestals.
Excellent. Yeah. So Sathi, you want to go next, and we will have the last word then from Vidyaji. Yeah. Go ahead, Sathi. You are on mute, please.
Sorry, technology. Okay, I would say from a society perspective, challenge stereotypes, fight biases, broaden perspectives, improve situations, and celebrate women's achievements.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the last word should come from Vidyaji. I can.
Yeah, I feel that one liner, if I want to say, then the society should drop all the assumptions that they have about each other and make the society much more inclusive.
Okay, so what a great thought to end the discussion on. Think of a inclusive, and if Rabindranath, I can ask them into that kind of inclusive scenario, let my country awake. Okay, so thank you. Back to you, Miss Student Coordinator, Harshita.
Thank you, Parth, for seamlessly moderating the whole session and encouraging answers to some very compelling questions. It has been our privilege to listen to the insights of our esteemed panelists and yours on the theme and discussion. We at NITIE completely resonate with your initial words that extra and ordinary can come together to become extraordinary, and the entire session was a testimony to it. Thank you very much. Now, we would like to request Professor Hema Date ma'am to announce the winners of the wall painting competition that were held around the celebration of International Women's Day 2022. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Harshita. As a part of this Women's Day celebration, we had organized multiple events, and one of this event was wall painting. And actually, we have got very good responses, 50 plus and on. And it was very difficult to select the final winners. But yes, we have actually thought of two aspects. One is the creativity and the social message. And considering all this, we have finally shortlisted two winners. So the winner is Sakshi Jingar, and the runner-up is Rajat Jain.
Congratulations to both the winners. Here on the screen are their paintings. We are very thankful for all the submissions. So on behalf of the entire NITIE fraternity, I would like to thank the esteemed panelists for the very enriching and inspiring discussion. The idea behind bias existing isn't enough. Action is needed to level the playing field is very well conveyed. The excitement and enthusiasm of everyone present here is applaudable, and I express my sincere appreciation for the same. I hereby thank all our honorable faculty members for joining us and being a part of this session. I would also like to thank the audience for being here and making this a truly enthralling session despite it all being in a virtual mode. Thank you very much. Thank you. I would like to request all to stay for 1 minute for a virtual picture before closing the session. May I request everyone to please switch on their cameras. The picture is taken.